Thank you, everyone. Man, what a wonderful introduction. Thank you for that. So right away, you can tell we're setting the tone, right? So is this too loud? Is this too loud? No? Good? Or it's just too loud for me. Gosh, I hate the sound of my own voice. It's like, ugh, awful. I'm so sorry. You guys are going to have to bear this for another 30 minutes. So I've been the host for Creative Mornings for almost 3 years now, and part of that team and picking people. So when I approached myself about speaking on humility, I was so honored. And then when I finally got that call back that I was going to do it, I was so excited to be hearing myself speak today. So honestly, this talk is going to be a little bit different than a lot of talks that we've had here at Creative Mornings. I think this is something that I kind of wanted to talk about because it's something that I've personally kind of passionate about seeing, and so I wanted to kind of bring this, and I know though someone like myself bringing this kind of saying, hey, I want to talk about humility for us in the community. I knew this was going to have to be fun, so please, feel free to laugh. Matter of fact, I would just, even if it's not funny, just do me the favor, just like laugh at my jokes, please. But this, we're gonna kind of go on a little roller coaster ride. So I kind of bear with me a little bit where you're gonna be going, where the heck's he going with all this? But just kind of, but above all today, we're gonna get real, okay? We're gonna get real, okay? What happens when people stop being polite and start getting real, right? Today, we're gonna find out. So let's get started. So weren't you that guy that made a calendar of himself? So listen, like if you were like running for president of PETA or something, I don't know if they have elections or whatever, and you knew like on the internet was like a picture somewhere of you barbecuing a dolphin, you'd be like, okay, I gotta address this because like this is gonna be tough. So right now, like, okay, yes, okay, I made a calendar of myself, all right? Yeah, so let's just get this out of the way, all right? So, okay, when I turned 30 years old, I wanted to have a party, okay, and I decided that I wanted to make a calendar, okay, of myself and celebrate me, all right? What's wrong with that? Sometimes you gotta treat yourself, right? Okay, so along with my friend and collaborator, John Paul Douglas, who's an awesome photographer who we make really awkward things together, we decided to make this calendar. So listen, just prepare your eyeballs because you can't unsee the next slide, but this is just a little taste of some of the things that were a part of this calendar. And yeah, so that's me. Yeah, okay, it happened. And so at the party, as if the calendar wasn't enough, at the party itself, I decided, dudes, you can't wear a shirt at the party. Lose it. You get in the door, lose the shirt. Okay? I did autograph signings of my calendar while I was there. And then I had Mama Sauce make a life-size cutout of my body so that you, too, could have abs like Chris Stevens and get your photograph in there. So, Ian, there you are right there, buddy. Look at that. Well, that was uncomfortable, so you seem like the worst person to speak on humility so far. And you know what? I'm with you. Yeah, you have a right to be very concerned right now that you've stepped into something that I'm not really quite sure what I've gotten myself into, but I've seen more skin than I wanted to see, and this doesn't feel right. So let's continue this journey of myself. So let's talk about my wonderful life. I'm from Philadelphia. Go Eagles, right? I know there's at least one person in here that... I went to law school. I took a risk and moved to Florida. I own a branding and advertising agency. I have an office in downtown Orlando. I'm fit. I'm handsome. And yeah, clearly we just demonstrated this. I've proven it. I'm a man of faith. I'm married to a beautiful wife, and I'm a father to a wonderful boy. And so that's my wonderful life. Like, I'm perfect, right? And right now you guys are like, dude, this guy's like amazing. He's got it all together. You know, like, I mean, I don't get it. I don't get why he's talking about humility, but like, I want to be this guy. And girls are like, man, it's too bad he's married because I want to be with this kind of guy, right? Like, that's what you see right here. Total package, right? So this is my wonderful life. And I could say when people ask me, like, what do you do or what's up with you? Like, I could say all this stuff. And people are like, okay, cool, great, good guy. And I can move on and kind of talk about whatever creativity things or my process and with branding or whatever it would be. And we could just move on and have a good talk, right? But what did I say at the beginning, guys? We're going to get real, okay? We're going to get real, okay? We're going to get real. So I'm from Philly. Not actually. I grew up in a safe suburb about 40 minutes outside of Philadelphia. Okay, not quite the same thing. You know, not necessarily the Will Smith story. You know what I mean? What I'm talking about. I wasn't, beat up by a bunch of kids in the schoolyard, and I had to move here. You know, I went to law school. Well, I never finished law school. I went there for a year and I quit. Okay. I took a risk and moved to Florida. Okay. Well, I left Pennsylvania because I was severely depressed, and I wanted to run away, okay? Getting real, right? Okay, we're getting real. Sometimes, okay, we're going to get serious, and you're just going to be like, this is uncomfortable. Do I laugh at this or not? It's okay, okay? There's no rules, okay? There's no rules. Okay, if you want to lose a shirt, Patrick, take the shirt off. It's fine, man. But I was depressed, and I needed to get away, and I wanted something new. I own a branding agency here in Orlando. Okay, that's kind of awesome. It's kind of a big deal. Okay, freaking, I've almost gone out of business like at least 5 times. At least. Okay, there is like nothing glamorous about like saying I own a branding advertising agency here in Orlando. It is so hard. And like, I don't even deserve to still have that anymore, but I have some amazing people that are around me, and because of them, like in spite of me, we're still doing really well, and that's awesome. I have an office downtown. Yeah, that's great. Well, things were once so bad. That office was my house. I had to move in to my office and live there for a season because I couldn't afford to pay rent. I'm fit. Well, technically, I can't even run a mile. If that's most people's definition of fitness, then I'm not fit at all. And I work out because I'm just a tiny guy that wants to look cool. Like, that's it. I'm just a tiny little skinny kid that's just trying to look cool. That's it. Okay? And I'm handsome. And some people are like, is he? Are we saying that? Like, I guess he's saying that, right? Well, I'm handsome. Well, I had one girlfriend my whole life before my wife. Like I had no girlfriends. And I was a virgin until I was 33. No joke. Getting real. Boom! You can't take that back. That's up there, right? Okay, I was not what they would say good with the ladies, comfortable with the ladies, know how to talk to them. I didn't even know whom I was, like, let alone how to talk to a female, right? So not what you would think, like looking at the specimen in front of you right now. So I'm a man of faith. Well, actually, I'm a Christian. I identify myself as a Christian. I love Jesus. But that's something I don't like to say because I don't know how you think about that. Like, you may have been in contact with Christians that are just terrible people, right? And there are plenty of them. They're judgmental, awful people. I don't want to be associated with them. So why should I say that to people so that you just assume I'm like one of them? I'm afraid of that, right? So I don't really like to say that, which is, I'm a man of faith. That's easier to say, right? But we're getting real, right? So I'm married to a beautiful wife. She's awesome. Her name's Brittany. I love her. But you know what? Marriage is really hard. Really hard. We're in counseling. And you know what? I'm not embarrassed to say that because I love my wife and I love my marriage and like I want it to work. And it takes work and it's hard. I'm a father to a wonderful boy. Well, being a parent is freaking hard, really hard. And right now, like my son, who's almost 3 months old, he enjoys the ceiling fan more than me. Like I'm just like, I'm lucky if I get a smile like maybe for 30 seconds a day, like maybe. Like he's just not into me, and like frankly, I'm not that into him a lot of the time. I mean, he's not. He just likes to cry constantly, and that's not like the kind of person that you'd want to hang out with. Like if you know what I mean. So this is me, humble beginnings, awkward middles. Oh, and by the way, let me just back up here real quick. I had a son, so you know I had sex at least one time, at least once, so, and it was pretty sweet, right? So I had humble beginnings here. Here's me as a little boy, and here my parents are thinking, okay, yeah, this guy, he looks like a stud, looks like he came from good stock. Look at him holding that grip and that football. He's probably going to be just like a champion of champions, this kid. He's just going to be a stud, right? A lady killer, captain of the football team, whatever. No, this is what they got. Okay. This kid, this right here tells the story of a kid that had no clue who he was. Absolutely no clue whatsoever. Okay, right away, there's the mullet, right? Loving the mullet. I remember specifically, like, my mom would let me get my hair and be like, no, 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 leave it long in the back, long in the back. I want to, long in the back, short on the top, right? And then there, like, somewhere, I'm like, no, okay, I want to shave, put a like, bowl on my head and do that all around, you know? Well, so here is just sort of a kid that honestly, like, didn't fit in a lot of places. I mean, this is a person right here honestly searching for his identity. Here's my high school yearbook picture. They spelled my name wrong. That's always really good for your self-esteem. That's my senior picture, right? That's me. Like, nobody goes, oh, who's this kid? You know, I remember times where all through growing up, like when I was little, my dad would come in and we would say our prayers, and I would tell my dad, I don't have any friends. And he would pray with me that I would have friends. And I remember just being a lonely person. And I remember trying to find places to fit in. And, you know, one of the things I would do is I would break away and I would just spend time building Legos, like, you know, even in to high school, and just build stuff. Or I would make my own movies, like with my brother and my sister, because like they had to like play with me, you know. And I would write stories, and I would do things that were a way for me to escape, you know, what I was feeling inside, not fitting in or being confused or feeling like I just got picked on a lot, not being, you know, popular, not being somebody that was good at sports, being the skinny little kid. And so in my loneliness and confusion, I turned to something that I didn't understand. You know, I turned to something that was that I'm ashamed of, but at the time, you know, I experimented with it, and it was something that made me feel good inside. And so, I'm talking about rollerblading. I turned to rollerblading, and you know, I added this cool graphic on there because I just felt like it needed that, like extreme, like that's kind of like how I was, right? So, and mind you, like I know you guys are what you're thinking right now, like, okay, he owns like a brand agency, like he's got lots of designers, this is clearly Photoshop because look at the air that he's getting, like clearly this is not real. Like, no, man, like those little chicken legs could get at least like 2.5 feet of air off of like any curb in my parents' neighborhood. So yeah, this kid obviously was cool, right? And if you listen closely, you can probably like hear my boombox playing 311 in the background, like right now. So this was high school. So I found this in my yearbook, like really, like literally. So here's all the cool girls, right, in high school. And then like I circled it because I was like, ooh, it's me, right? Look at that freaking fro. And I was like, oh, there's like the saddest kid in the world. There's like, he's just all alone at his table. There's all the girls like that one day maybe he could talk to. But no, right? So I was pretty impressionable. Obviously, I got into rollerblading. I shouldn't have done that, right? I remember one time specifically, some kid made fun of me and told me that I had a unibrow, and the class started saying, "Oh, you know, Chris is a unibrow." And so when I went home, I took like a Bic razor blade, and I kind of like just took out the middle. And I thought, okay, cool, like I look cool, right? And so years later, like I found this picture and I went like, Mom, what the heck was wrong with me, right? So like she's like, oh, I didn't want to say anything because my mom is just like the sweetest like, you know, human being ever. And so this was me, right? Like literally, like that width is the width of like the Bic razor blade, right? Like whoosh. And But I was happy because I had freaking Cool Borders 2, right? Which was like an awesome game, like Cool Borders 2. So, listen, we're getting real. Sometimes you freaking shave your eyebrows. So where the heck are we going with all this? Like, I hope I'm establishing some rapport with everyone here, with humility. But let's reconnect, guys, with the weird, lonely, shaved unibrow rollerblader inside all of us today. That would just, if there's one thing that I would love, that's what it would be, right? So let's start talking about, humility. Why are we hiding from what once inspired us? So here, all of us in some form, and the term creative, I think, to me, it's a broad one, because I think if you're here in this city, in this community, you're creative, whatever capacity you are in. But I think that, creativity in general, and us in general in this room, I think oftentimes we lose sight of some of the things that once sparked us to be creative. Some of the things that once led us to do creative things, like whether it's music or whether it's design or art or painting or poetry or whatever it may be. A lot of times this came out of a place where I didn't fit in, or I felt like an outcast, or I didn't feel like people accepted me. And we as creatives, our job is to be some of the best feelers. We want to be able to feel. We want to be emotional. And so a lot of times we lose this connection. As somebody that works in a creative agency, I think that ultimately I love the fact that we get to connect with people and help tell their stories and care for their needs through design. I think that we have an ability to care for people better than anybody else, because we're supposed to be the ones that are sensitive. We're supposed to be the ones that understand what it's like to know pain, or understand what it's like to know struggle, or understand what it says like to know I want to be sensitive to what you're dealing with and actually solve a problem for you. See, design, I think, design serves. Design inspires, design helps. I mean, this is some of the greatest stuff about what I love doing for a living. I love building beautiful, useful things that make the world a better place. And if you can relate to any of these things that you want to do, then you can't be ignorant to the plights of people around you. So this is not up here. If you read that, that's not a selfish thing. Like, you can't be a selfish person and say, well, I want to inspire people and I want to help people. This is like altruism. This is like selflessness. This is like saying, I'm going to put things before myself. And that's a big, bold thing. And that's not easy to do. And we're going to talk about why that is. So what happened? Why is it that a lot of us kind of lost that thing that maybe is quick to put others before our own stuff, right? Well, ambition, right? And that's not a bad thing. I have no problem with ambition, right? What drives you? We all have stuff that drive us. And again, there's nothing wrong with some of these things. But how much are they consuming us? So I want to be popular. I want to be the kind of person people look up to. I want to be recognized. I want to win awards. I want a promotion. I want to show them all. I want to provide for my family. I want to be famous. I want to inspire people. I want to be happy. I want to be loved by someone. I want to be successful. I want more followers. I want more likes. We all maybe can relate to one of these things, that deep down, that's what you want. Like, you want that thing. And that thing, well, it influences all of your decisions. It influences your behaviors. It influences your attitude. It influences the kind of person that you become. How much you focus on that thing and how you choose to focus on it can transform you. And so a lot of us are transformed by an ambition, a particular ambition, and it's changed us into something that maybe we're not quite happy with, or maybe we're not quite proud of at times. And I think that that's something where at times, so we set these powerful expectations for ourselves. Like, I want to be the best at what I do. I want to win this award. I want to get this promotion. I want to get this kind of salary. And we leave very little room for grace on ourselves. We leave very little room for us to make mistakes in that. We don't really let ourselves off the hook very often. And so we grow bitter, we grow frustrated, we go angry. A lot of things can happen when you don't feel like you're meeting up to the expectations you set for yourself. Sometimes we even blame other people, or we look to other people, right? And let me tell you this. Your success will never be defined by the failure of another. I just say that right now, because there are a lot of us in here that it's easier for us to look to other people as to why they have what we don't have and what they did that if we had that we would have done it too. Or you know what, you're not proud of the people around you in this community for doing great things because you want to be doing those things too and you're not doing it. So it's hard for you to look to them and be encouraging to them or be supportive of them because you want it too. Well, the reality is, I don't know what lie there is in your brain that told you this, but your life doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they can't have success. You can have success and not wait or be dependent on the failure of someone else, or be waiting on the failure, or even celebrating in the back of your mind where you're like, oh, heard they went out of business. Oh, yes. And you're like, why? Why is that a good thing? Why is it a good thing that people around here are going out of business or leaving, because they don't feel like they have a place here? Why is that a victory? Oh, there's one less designer here. Maybe that means like I'll be looked at as the man. And it's like, why is that better? Why are we better for that? So we all are flawed. We all have flaws, and every one of us, we know it. So why do we hide it? Why do we pretend that we aren't messed up people? Why do we pretend like we're perfect people? Well, let's talk about freaking social media for a second. Like me, follow me, dribble me, like me, vine me, whatever. It's a little drunk uncle for you right there. So the verified account, I want to be verified. What do I have to do to be verified? I'm so cool because I'm verified, And, how many followers do I have? Well, let's freaking just take a selfie right now because this is what this is all about, right? Like, I'm going to just show the world how cool I am right now. So everyone, everyone, if you wouldn't mind, just cheer. Yeah. Yeah, that's just so great, right? Social freaking media, it's so awesome. I'm going to show the world everything about myself. That's awesome, right? So here's the thing about social media. So we put stuff out there because we want people to respond to it. If you didn't want people to respond to it in some way, shape, or form, you wouldn't put it out there. You would just keep it buried somewhere. So you put something out there because you want people to respond to it. And if people don't respond the way that you want, you get disappointed. You get discouraged. You start looking at things that, well, everyone likes this guy. Why are there so many people following this guy? He's doing crap. I mean, Justin Bieber posts a picture of, like a shoelace, and it'll get like 4 million likes, right, in like a few seconds. It's frustrating. But for us, we put out stuff that we want to get reaction to, and when we don't get that reaction, we get discouraged. So, for Instagram, right, let's look at this, for example. Here's my perfect life, right? This is my son, Bear. So this is Barry. Bear's 2.5 months old. This is like right at bath time. I think I posted this picture, right? Like, he's just like, Dad, you are the best. You're just the most. I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for bathing me and like rocking me to sleep and just like providing for me and like, you're the best dad. And I'm like, and you're the best son. I love you. Like, we're the best and love, 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 right? Like, so that's what I post. But like, honestly, that is like 99.9% of like reality. Like that right there. Like, that's it. But I don't post that because I put the best version of my possible self out there. And that's what all of us are doing with everything. Like, we're not showing the grind, we're not showing but we're showing the best thing, and that's literally like just the smallest part of it. But we all kind of present these perfect lives. And we know that we're not perfect. So you have the person to the left of you, they're messed up. They got problems. Person to the right of you, they're messed up. They got problems. And the person in your seat, guess what? They're messed up. They got problems. And you know how I knew it? It's not because I hired an investigator to like follow you all around for months leading up to this. It's because we are all messed up people with problems, right? So, it's actually our failures that often bind us, not our successes. So what we all have in common is that we're all messed up people. Like, we're flawed people. We have that in common. We don't all have in common that we all drive Range Rovers, or that we all are millionaires, or that we all like have won an Addy Award, or that we all have gotten this promotion, or that we're all this or that. Like, we don't have those things in common. Those things are harder to relate to. But this is something that we can all connect on. This is something that we can all relate to. So being humble means being brave. See, your insecurities don't make you unique. We just said that. Like, we all have insecurities. We all have problems. That doesn't make you special. What makes you special is how you embrace those, what you do with those things. That's what makes you special. See, it's not easy being vulnerable. It's not easy being transparent. And like, maybe I'm making this look easy, but honestly, like, inside, I'm scared. Like, I just told people I was a virgin until I was 33. I just told people that, like, my son annoys me and he's this cute little baby. I just told people that, I show people pictures of me rollerblading. Like, that's embarrassing to me, right? There's a lot of things that I've exposed myself about. I've had depression in the past. I've been lonely. Like, there are things that when I take this step out, I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen. But for me, I think that it's worth it. And we're going to talk about why it is, but I think that it's just so easy to BS people and to just show you the best parts of me. It's just so easy to make it seem like everything's together. And we could do that and continue to do that forever. But it takes bravery to say that I'm imperfect. It takes bravery to step out and say, here's what I'm dealing with, or here's what messed up about me right now, or man, I'm having a hard time, here's what's going on. That takes bravery. People say about humility, say that guy needs to learn humility. Like, they'll say, you need to learn, that guy, well, that girl, whatever, oh, you see that? Like, they need to learn some humility. Like, humility is something that you have to learn. And maybe it is, because maybe all of us, we're not born that way. We're born to project and protect ourselves and project the best version of ourselves because we want people to think we're awesome. So, therefore, it is really hard for us to exercise humility. It is easier for us to kind of give the short answers and the quick answers to stuff. Humility, at its core, can say, I'm not the most important thing in the world. Like, the world does not evolve around me. And when you kind of start having that thought where you're comfortable with feeling like not everything's about me, things start to change. So, for instance, humility, I believe, is the precursor to helping yourself or helping someone else. This is the start. This is sort of a gateway. Being humble opens you up to opportunities of having authentic conversations with people that can actually lead to people being transformed. That's the reality of it. That can happen. This isn't a groundbreaking thing that I'm saying. You've probably seen this before, but people want to share their stories or what they're going through with humble people. That's the reality. They don't want to share it with somebody that feels like they may be judging to them. So the world doesn't need more good designers. This is my opinion. The world needs more good people. See, we're people first. And what kind of a person are you going to be? Because going back to some of those things that drive us and the ambitions and some of those things, there are things that if you're the kind of person that believes that I want this thing and I will get there at all costs, then you are the kind of person that may end up being somebody that's not a good person. That's people don't want to be around. That's ultimately lonely, that has everything, one of those cliche people that has it all but has nothing. And if we can focus on going, okay, what does it look like to actually be a good person? Because that actually matters to me. Because I think that some people would say, I don't care what people think about me. I think, frankly, it's because they don't want to listen to what people have to say. I think they're afraid of what they might hear, and they don't want to make changes in their life to actually be the kind of person that people might want to be around. Things about being a good people or a good person, I think we can all agree on a lot of things. Honesty is a good thing. Being somebody who's integritous, whose word means what they say it means. Somebody who's compassionate, someone who's sincere, someone who's supportive of you, encouraging of you, someone who's kind. These are the kinds of things that I know for me, being somebody that went through, the majority of my life feeling like I didn't get a lot of those things from people, it made me want to give those things to people. So, the world needs more good people. The world needs more good leaders. The world needs more good people who are willing to say, listen, I don't want to just be out in front of you. I want to be behind you, supporting you, helping you. Like, those are the kinds of values that I look up to. What are people going to say about you? What do they say about you now? What do you think they would say about you? So the hope is that you find your joy. I want you to find happiness. I want you to find confidence. I want you to find success. This is not this thing about like wallowing in the dumps of self-pity. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want you to be an unhealthy place. I don't want you to be discontent with your life, and that somehow like you're taking what I'm saying is like I just have to stay there, that I can't be happy, I can't be successful, I can't be these things. Like, no, but I don't want the circumstances of your life or the struggles, I don't want those things to define you, and they won't last forever, but they can empower you to change you as who you are as a kind of person, and hopefully that person is more sensitive to people around you. See, are you the kind of person that people want to open up to you? Because if you're humble, and if you even demonstrate what that looks like, and maybe partly I'm doing that right now, people will just naturally feel more comfortable talking to you about stuff. Because they go, you know what? This guy, like, he doesn't have it all together, and I don't have it all together, and there's something about that makes me feel like he's not going to judge me if I start talking about stuff. Or, you know what? And this is huge for me and for a lot of people. I know some of the stuff my wife's going through. When somebody tells their story and it relates to what you're going through, and you just go, man, it feels so good to know I'm not alone in what I'm dealing with. Because that's how it feels like at times. That whatever it is that's going on in you, like, I'm the only one in the world that's going through it. And you come across somebody, you interact with somebody that is talking about that same thing in the same way. You just feel like they didn't solve your problems, but you just feel like I'm not an outcast, like I'm not alone. There is hope for me, like I'm not just this weirdo that's the only person dealing with this thing. And so if we don't share, if we aren't humble, people don't get that luxury of getting to know that they're not alone in the world with the things that they deal with. So what kind of person are you? Have you lived your life in kind of a way that people feel like it's okay to talk to you about stuff? So, how you doing? No, seriously, how you doing, right? So, this is like kind of getting into some of the practical steps here, but you ask somebody, and I'm guilty of this more than anybody because I'm at a lot of different events or different things, right? And somebody will be like, oh, how's it going? How's business or whatever? And you're in this like crowded room or whatever. It's like real quick, and you're only talking for a few seconds, right? And it's like, how are you doing? How's the business? How whatever? Every single one of us it's going to be, oh, fine, things are good, right? Like, you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, like, the reality is like, I'm about to go out of business and I don't even know how I'm going to pay my payroll and I'm freaking out. And like, you just start crying on the shoulder in that moment. Like, that doesn't happen, right? Because you got to be aware of the surroundings sometimes when we have these engagements come. So if you're the person that asks like, how you doing? Or how's your business? Or how's your life? Or how's design? Or how's your job, right? Think before you say, do you really care about the answer, or are you just kind of like filling space? Because if you really did care about that person and about the answer, then you might say, you know what, I'm probably not going to be able to like actually get into much like detail here in this situation. So you know what, it's like instead of going like, how you doing? It's like, hey, I want to find out how you're doing. Can we do lunch? Like, can we meet for breakfast? Like, what are you doing tomorrow night? Like, that is like a step towards actually getting to a real answer, right? But if we kind of continue to be so surface and shallow with one another, let's not be surprised why we don't like, well, I asked him how he was doing. He said he was fine. It's like, you do the same thing. You wouldn't, go into that stuff. You know what I mean? So, go to lunch, take someone to dinner, ask them, if you can get together with somebody. I'm a big supporter of, if you feel like there's somebody who could help you with something, or you want to, learn something from somebody, get mentored, go ask them to lunch. Like, you don't have to wait for them to come to you, right? Just say, hey, listen, like, I just, like, you sound like somebody mentioned to you, they tell me your story, like, I'd love to just get together with you, that'd be okay. Like, pursue them, ask them, but don't just think we can have real humility and real dialogue and real depth and real transformation in kind of the way that we're doing it, or even through like a tweet or whatever. I mean, that's not going to happen, So some other things, be encouraging to people. When they're doing a good job, tell them they're doing a good job. When you see something that you're proud of them for, tell them you're proud of them. When you mess up, say you're sorry. And literally, that's something that I've had to learn over and over again. And I hope that the guy, my team that's here, knows I'm going to be quick to say I'm sorry. Because I have to be. Because otherwise that stuff just piles up. When you mess up, and you will mess up, be a person that makes mistakes like I do all the time. You let your circumstances get the best of you and just say you're sorry. A lot of times in that moment of saying sorry, I've had some of the best dialogues with some of my team just by going man, I really blew it. I didn't treat you the way you deserve to be treated, and I'm really sorry. And some of the best stuff has come out of that. So under it all, this is a story of hope. A story of support, encouragement, and freedom from the things that weigh us down. See, humility and trying to learn and practice humility is one of those things where I think I want to see us continuing to be brave with that so that I can see people get lifted up. I don't want to see people being weighed down by the same stuff that weighs us down. I don't want to see that lasting forever. I don't want to see people feeling like they don't have hope in their life. And so I think that I encourage you to start talking to people about some of this stuff. Be open, be vulnerable, be transparent, put yourself out there. And you may be very, very surprised by the way people respond. You may be terrified, like I was coming up here, but you may be very, very surprised by the way people respond to you being real and humble and actually opening yourself up. Because I have a lot of faith in this community, in the city, and the people around here, and I believe that if you do open yourself up to them, they'll respond with kindness, they'll respond with compassion, and maybe they won't have the right answers, but you know what? Maybe they can point you to somebody that can help you. But what you're afraid of, well, you should have more reason to be afraid of what happens if you don't do those things. If you keep locked inside some of the stuff that you're dealing with, you should be much more fearful of that. So, this is my email address. Write it down, whatever, take a picture of it. I can give you a card. But I'm going to be one of those people in the community. Whatever you need. I have, I'm blessed enough to have my own business, and so sometimes I can make my own hours. And so, man, if you need to talk, I'll carve out an hour. If you want a breakfast, you want a lunch, you want to do whatever. If you need help with a job, if you need help, whatever it is, whatever you're struggling with, you're dealing. Maybe there's something I talked about that resonated with you. I'm going to be one of those guys that's going to say, listen, I'm not going to get away of wanting to see you, be lifted out of what you're dealing with. So I'll talk to you. I don't care if I don't know you. I'll be one of those people. But I'm just one person. I know there's so many here that would do the same. So in closing, I want to encourage every one of us here. I want to encourage every one of us here to be brave, to be humble, and to be brave. And to those of us in the room, we may be that person that we're uncomfortable with our own body and we feel like we're not beautiful. To you, be brave. You're somebody in here that feels like, man, I've been passed up for a promotion so many times. And you know what? Maybe you're a girl in here and you've been passed up for guys because you have a boss that treats you like crap and is a sexist. You know what? Be brave. Be humble, be brave, because you deserve better. Maybe you're in a relationship, and you're in this relationship, and you're going, this isn't healthy for me. You know what? Be brave. Maybe you're one of those people that's like, man, but you don't know, my past. I've carried this thing, the weight of this stuff with me for so long. I can't escape it. Be brave. Maybe you're somebody who has debt, and you put yourself in this situation. You have all this debt, and you have this anxiety all the time about how you're going to get out of it. Be brave. Maybe you're somebody, it's like, man, all I want is the approval of my dad. If you only knew the kind of guy he was. Be brave. There are people in here that can relate to everything you're going through. You're depressed. You're going through some hard stuff right now. Be humble. Be brave. You're afraid to fail. You're afraid to mess up. You're afraid you don't feel like you're worth anything. You don't feel like you have any friends. You don't feel like people care about you. Be brave. You know, a lot of you need to understand that you matter, that you're worth something, and sometimes you're put in situations that make you feel that constantly. To you, be brave. So, in closing, we, all of us, we're broken. We all fail. Sometimes when we fail, and sometimes when we fall, we need somebody to help us back up. Sometimes when we're at our weakest, we just need somebody to be strong for us. Sometimes when we're lost, we need somebody to help us see the way. So, your story can change your life. So let's start sharing our whole story. Thanks.
For a question and answer, if you guys have any questions you'd like to ask Chris.
This is honestly, I was more nervous about this part just going into it, just so you know, because I didn't give like a normal talk, so the kind of stuff I'm a little bit embarrassed about. Yes.
Questions.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Hampton, go ahead.
Can we get a reissue of the calendar?
Oh, boy. We may be able to do a Kickstarter or something for that. I don't know, like, how much we'd probably get for that. Wow. Okay. All right. I'll try not to be concerned by that, Hampton, but I appreciate that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. If it will go to help the community, you're okay. And that you have me there. Cool. Anyone else? I know this is like a weird kind of topic, you know, in the way I did it. So like I said, if we don't have any questions, that's fine. But Sean, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that for me, you know, I came here almost 10 years ago and found myself really falling in love with the creative community and, you know, found myself in this business that I'm in, and I stumbled into it. You know, I didn't plan on it. And I think the biggest thing for me was years ago, even just identifying with a lot of the way creatives were being treated in this community by people, you know, being looked at as like a tool on a tool belt and not as like a human being or a person with gifts or talent or something that could do great things if they were encouraged or inspired. And the more I kind of wanted to surround those people with support and encouragement, the more I realized like a lot of these people were just like me, you know, that they had a lot of insecurities and a lot of problems. And not that, you know, some kind of banker doesn't have those kinds of things, but for me, this is a community that I fell in love with, and I know that deep down this community we're emotional people, we're feelers, and we have these kinds of things that we wrestle with. And I know that we're also going to be the kind of people that the first ones in line that when we can do something to help people or we can come out the other side of what we're dealing with, we're going to be the first ones to do something great about it and not just kind of keep it to ourselves. And so I think for me, that's where it started. It started with just kind of spending a lot of time with people, you know, and you know, having late conversations and getting to know people, you know, and not being afraid to be the kind of person that like wanted to be around people. Because like for me, again, coming from a past where I frankly didn't feel like I had a lot of friends, I desired that. And so I felt like here, you know, I found a community that people were going, oh yeah, I'd love to get together. I'd love to do dinner. I'm like, wow, this is great. I can actually engage with people. I can find out what's going on. So, but no one book. I wish I could point you to like one thing. Yeah.
What are some methods that you might find useful for separating like your business part of life from your personal life?
Oh man, yeah. That's something that I've often said, man, I really wish it was like a playbook, you know, because I don't know how to do that. I know that I'm lucky that, you know, in what I do have some flexibility to kind of do that. And I think, you know, when I do believe, like when you're at work, like I want to believe like you're working your best. You're giving, you know, even if it's to a place or into the time being that you're not happy with, that when you're there, you're present and you're working as hard as you can, you know. And so I get that you may not be able to like do a whole lot of things outside of that, but I think that We're all on social media. We're all out there. We all have opportunities. So how do you set up stuff that you can do outside of work? How do you set up stuff that because of the relationships you make? So work is kind of like a home base in a way. I mean, that's where I'm making a lot of connections, a lot of relationships, but that's kind of where it starts. It's like the home base. And then from there out, it's up to me to kind of make room and make time, get up a little bit earlier. I know it sucks, but like go have coffee. You can always figure out a way to do that. You can always figure out a way to take a lunch break and meet somebody close, or again, do a dinner or spend some time on a weekend. But there is always time if you want to make the time. And so I think that, for those of us that are in jobs that aren't very flexible, I think those are people that probably need it even more, because you don't have as much like contact of the kind, the variety that you'd probably really enjoy, So I think you just kind of have to do that. So, yeah, I mean, I also think that a lot of us, and I've been there too, like we get really like complacent with like, okay, I got my friends, I'm done. I got my like 6 people I hang out with and that's it, And I think there are opportunities like this that I love so much. You can meet people and you can make new friends here if you wanted to, But it's up to you if you're just going to leave, and that's okay, But it's up to you if you're just going to leave when it's over and not try to meet people. Hampton.
Is it hard for you to see such good creatives that have come from here leave us?
Is it hard to see people leave? Absolutely. It's really hard, but I think that there's enough people giving them a hard time in their life, So I've always said I'm not going to be that person to them. It is hard because what I do is I separate, like, one, I'm going to let it motivate me to continue to build this community up to be something and do whatever I can do to be something that the kind of people, those people can stay. And I get a lot of the reasons why they leave, because they don't feel like they can do great things here. They have to go to Austin or San Francisco or Brooklyn or wherever. I get that. And to an extent, some of that is true, But at the same time, it motivates me. The other side of it, though, I'm proud of them. I'm really proud of them. We've all had friends here that have gone to work at companies that like we dream about, that are like the world is like watching them, right? And we have people that come out of our community and they're doing great things at those places. Man, I'm so proud of those people. And I still keep in touch with all those people and let them know that I'm proud of them. And I think that all of us, we need to take that posture, John, you have a question? How much can you bench press? How much can I bench press? Man, I don't, I work out by myself because I only have like a certain amount of time on my lunch break. So that means I don't have a spotter. So I can't bench probably as much as I want to, but I don't know. Back in the day, like the most I ever benched was 230. So there you go. Yeah, and there you go. Yeah. I realize I answered that question probably more seriously than I should have. Like John is like, I really, I'm really interested in this. I'm like, I just want to know, like, I'm like, stupid. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. Oh.
So if you're a young person or a creative and you're trying to make those kind of connections, other than emailing you, like
yeah.
what did you do to connect with people? Because I think when you're younger, you kind of think like, these people don't have time for me. They're doing a lot of stuff. And I think more often than not, you're surprised.
Yeah, I think the easiest thing to do is you start where you know to start, and then you start asking people, who could you introduce me to? And I hate LinkedIn because that's kind of like how that works. It seems like it's always fake. But in real life, it actually works really well if you're like, hey man, like, do you know somebody that you could put me in touch with? And more often than not, like, they will. Like, they'll be like, oh yeah, let me just introduce you guys over email. So-and-so, this is, so-and-so, like, he's a great guy, I talked to him or whatever. I think that's a great place to start. Again, like, don't be afraid to kind of put yourself out there. And it's the same thing with, what we're talking about here. It's like, if you're interested, you're trying to get plugged in, or you're trying to find a good job or whatever, start saying to people like, hey man, I'm looking for this. Do you know anybody? That's how things happen around here. And this is like the beauty of Orlando, is like it's a very, like, everyone is literally 1 degree away from everybody else, pretty much. So you're 1 degree away from talking to the right person. Yeah.
What made you quit law school to get into the creative industry?
Oh man, well, yeah, I didn't quit to get into the creative industry. I quit because I just couldn't see myself being a lawyer anymore. And so I didn't know where I was going, hence why I was depressed severely. I mean, I kind of had a track for most of my life thinking that's what I wanted to be. And I think that when you get into that thing and you find out that it doesn't bring you joy that you expected, you're faced with a decision, do I leave it behind and I'm faced with the reality of what life looks like now, or do I kind of just push through and hope that, I'll just make a go at it and maybe be moderately happy, And for me, I just was like, no, I can't do this, I want to be happy, but I had no answer for what was next, and that was really hard. And so for almost a year after that, I didn't know what I was going to do. I remember I took a job, I had to get a job, and I took a job at the Best Buy, and I was selling digital cameras, and the Best Buy happened to be like a mile away from the law school, and like I would see former classmates of mine coming in, and they'd be like, dude, what's going on? So, and that was like just so humiliating for me, but I didn't know where I was going to do with that. But I do know, and I would encourage anyone here that, pursue what makes you come alive inside. And if what you're doing right now is not making you come alive inside, then, don't be afraid to take a risk and move away from that. And you may be in a season where you're kind of trapped in between, but I don't think it's worth doing something that ultimately you're not like passionate about, you're not happy about, you don't feel like it makes you a better person, you don't feel like it's better to the people around you, and you're not happy doing it. So yes.
So in 18 years, when your son seems to be going to law school,
Yeah.
what would you hope that the community here, the creative community, and broader than that, what would you hope that the community is at that point?
Man, I would love for my son to be in a city that I feel like is actually like meeting some of its potential, because right now I think potential is always the key word that we use with Orlando. And I don't know how long it'll take us to kind of reach that potential, but I do think that we have the foundation for great people here to do great things. And so what I want, is for my son to be able to be in a community that literally is like thriving, that ultimately, man, I don't know how we're going to get there, when it's going to happen, but I want by that point for downtown Orlando to have an identity where he tells people like, yeah, I'm from downtown Orlando, and they're like, oh, that's awesome, like I know what that is. Like that's a really thriving like community. It has great creativity and arts and technology and life sciences and like a lot of great things. And maybe at the core of that, I would hope is that people identify this place as like a great quality of life and a great community and a kind of place where, yeah, I mean, you can go to San Francisco, you can go to Austin, you can go to these cities, but you're so caught up in doing, or ambition and the kinds of things that drive us that don't lead us to be good people and care for people. And I think we have a really good foundation for that. And so I would hope that my son will be a part of a community that he's somebody that feels welcomed in, and he's somebody that doesn't feel the things that I felt about being alone or not being able to relate to people. Yeah, that's what I would hope for him. I have a dream for him. Good? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. All right.